welcome to another show of You Can Cook. Wow, you can cook. And today you are cooking Dr. Gloria's incredible Tuscan ragout with bacon and white beans. Take it away, Dr. G.
Thank you, babe. I know that some of you are not going to be using bacon, and that's okay. But the original recipe in ragout has bacon bits in it. So we're going to start, first of all, I hope all of you opened your cans of beans, or whether you're doing 1 can or 2. If you're cutting the recipe in half, you're only going to use a half a can each time that we use it in the recipe. But the recipe calls for 2 cans of white beans. I like cannellini, but you can use any kind of white beans. And what you do is rinse the beans. Don't use the sauce, not in this recipe. Usually the water that they come in is really good, like a gravy, but in this recipe, it's not necessarily the case. So what you're going to do is you're going to rinse and drain 1 can of the beans and add it to a food processor. This is going to be your thickener, which is what I like. Jorgen, have you ever done that? Thickened your, do you eat beans?
I eat a lot of beans, but chickpeas and lentils most.
Okay, have you ever used them? Have you ever used them blended to make a sauce, to make like a creamy sauce instead of adding dairy or cheese?
I almost every second day I make such a pâté for my raw, not a
not a sauce.
Yeah, not a sauce.
Yeah, even chickpeas you can make a sauce with. But okay, so you've added them to the food processor along with a half a cup of chicken broth. And then when you blend them, you're going to set them aside for a minute. So now you have your 2 cans drained. Put the can that is the full beans aside. And now start heating your Dutch oven, kind of a medium-high heat. You know what I mean by medium-high because everybody's stove is so different. Hi, Linda. Dawn, nice big smile. Okay, so what you're going to do now is heat that big pan and put your bacon in it to cook. And the reason I say medium-high is on certain stoves, you can burn it on medium-high. You want it to get crispy, but not burnt.
I'm sorry, I need to ask a question.
No, Nancy, no questions allowed.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was trying to get prepared and I put the oil in the pan, so I don't need the oil until I do the bacon, right?
Right.
Uh-oh, okay, let me get it out.
Yeah.
Nancy, your hair looks, sorry, Gloria, your hair looks so good. Did you get it done today?
No, in fact, I didn't at all.
No, it looks cute.
I just
very flattering.
And went.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so when you do the bacon, at the end, when the bacon is cooked to your liking, if it has too much, like the other day we cooked some bacon and it didn't have hardly any grease. And for me, not being able to chew well, I have to have a lot of fat in it so that it can get crispy. So if you end up with a lot of grease afterwards, then you're going to want to remove some. Just leave, maybe a teaspoon or so in there so that you get the flavor, but you don't want it greasy full of bacon grease.
Well, here's the thing. Your recipe says heat oil in large Dutch oven over medium-high heat, add bacon. So Nancy, you don't have to take the oil out.
You don't have to take it out unless you've got too much and unless the bacon is real fatty. There's the difference. If the bacon is real fatty, you don't need the oil. I should have clarified that. I apologize. But if it's not, like the one we got the other day, you're going to need a little bit because it won't fry crispy. So then while you're doing that, make sure that you pay attention to how much oil you have, because when you're done with the bacon, and I have to give because Tracy's going to remind me if I don't. She's getting me trained. She really is. When you get done with the bacon to the consistency that you want it, you're going to want to then remove any excess because that same grease, that same pan, you're going to do your onions and your vegetables that you've already prepped and chopped, and I'll talk about how much that is now. So ladies,
How
put
many
your,
bacons? How many strips of bacon?
well, that depends on them. I fill my skillet as much as they'll fit in a skillet.
Well, the
And
recipe
usually I
says
use
4.
a 10. Usually I use a 10. So in the, yeah, 4 strips is what is normal. But if you want more, if your skillet fits it, in a 10-inch skillet, you can usually get 6 to 7. So it just depends on how bacony you want it. Oh, that's cool, Dawn. Dawn is saying that she loves your background, Jorgen. Okay.
Yeah,
It is. It's very peaceful, isn't it?
it's cute.
It's adorable.
And it's peaceful. So 4 strips of bacon would be the norm, but you can add more if you'd like.
Mhm.
Now I want you to put your thumbs up, those of you cooking, when your bacon is ready to, okay, crispy. It's crispy already?
I actually used chicken bacon and pre-cooked it, so I put a little oil to just kind of get the flavor
Okay,
going.
that's okay. Then your oil's important. Yes. Okay, now you're going to do tell me when you're ready. I don't think Magda. Who are we missing? We're missing
Sandy.
Sandy.
And we're missing
Lori.
Lori. Yeah, she messaged me though.
Did she? Sandy, I hope she's okay because she's always on. She literally gallops. It's fun to watch her.
I'm
I got too much oil.
You're ready? Okay.
I'm
Nancy, are you ready?
Oh,
You're
Nancy.
not.
I gotta. I think I have too much oil in.
Yeah, don't get too much oil because it won't taste right if it has too much.
But you can drain some off, right?
Yeah, just drain it off.
I gotta do that.
Now,
I
if it's
have
bacon fat, if it's
I have a-
bacon fat, we pour it off and we save it in a jar in the refrigerator.
Yep, that's what I do.
Yeah, because it's great added to, if you're eating bacon, it's added. A lot of times my digestive system doesn't handle the bacon, but if I put a little bit of bacon grease in something, it gives it the flavor, so I don't have to have the bacon. So you should have already like 1 medium onion chopped up fine, about a cup roughly is what an onion does, and a medium carrot. Now I made the mistake when I made this not long ago and used the carrots for kind of medium, and I thought, well, they're really kind of small, so I used 2. Don't do that. It makes it sweet. This should not be a sweet ragu. So 1 carrot is enough, and that's about a half a cup. Same thing with your celery. That's about a half a cup. It's about 2 to 3 ribs, depending on how large they are. And do not throw away the greens on the celery. They're delicious. Chop them all up with your celery. Don't ever throw them away. And then about 3 cloves of garlic. If you're Dr. G, you have probably 5 or 6, but 3 cloves is what the recipe calls for. And do any of you have the fresh rosemary from your garden or from the store? You're all gonna, okay, Magda does, Jill, good. How about you, Linda? Do you have fresh rosemary?
No.
No, okay, so then just use the dried, it's okay. The only thing is, remember that dried herbs are a little more potent. So rather than saying 1 tablespoon, put in maybe a couple of teaspoons and then try it, okay? And then if you like the flavor, you can add more, but don't do the same thing with fresh as dried because it may be too strong.
So here's an interesting ad. So has anybody heard, so I have rosemary growing in my yard, that you can make an insect repellent with rosemary and oil?
Yeah. Used to
Yeah.
spray it all around in Ecuador because we had no CMs. They were awful.
Well, I got 3 big fly bites on a hike the other day. 1 big old horse fly came and landed on my leg and bit me 3 times while I was hiking.
Yeah, if you mix it, if you mix it with a carrier oil, like just buy almond oil is what I used to use. And if you mix it with almond oil and then apply it before you go out, or if you spray it on afterwards, when you get it, they'll stay away. Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I always had rosemary bushes, especially in Ecuador. I never had no-see-ums in Idaho. Everybody used to plant them by their doors, like little hedges. They'd shape them and put them by their doorways, anywhere where they came into the house, because otherwise you'd be eaten alive by no-see-ums. I mean, it's awful. And you're at 8,000 feet. You wouldn't think that those buggers would like to be up there, but they are. Yeah, they're nasty. If there's a no-see-um within 10 miles, it goes straight to Dr. G.
That's what happened to me in the Bahamas. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even sleep. I was itching all night.
Yeah, I don't do well with insect bites. And then if you're using a white potato or a white sweet potato or even an orange potato, which is a yam, you should have about roughly 1.5 cups cut up into little cubes. I used white sweet potatoes, so was finally able to get some that were absolutely huge. They looked like footballs. It must be the time of year. I thought they were in the fall, but I finally got them from Whole Foods. Had to order groceries delivered for a minimum order, but it was worth it to get my sweet potatoes. So remember that a mirepoix is just a fancy French name for when you're doing a saute of onion, carrot, and celery. And that's what you're going to saute. When your bacon is done, you've removed any excess grease, you're going to start sauteing that. Now, a true mirepoix does not have garlic. This recipe has garlic. So that's why you put it in a little bit at the end. You can add the garlic and the rosemary at the end, meaning once the onions are transparent, you're seeing that the carrots are starting to get soft. That's when you add your garlic and your rosemary. Just chop up your rosemary. If you have dried rosemary, you can actually add it at any time. It's the fresh rosemary. You don't want to overcook it. This is such an easy recipe.
Nancy has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
wanted to comment two things. One, I have my van on here, so sometimes I'm muting. Secondly, I'm using, unfortunately, all I have is a stainless steel, so it's tending to want to burn. So I put a little bit more oil in it.
That's fine, hon. Yeah, that's fine. No, the oil's not a problem. It's just that you don't want to end up tasting the oil. You want the veggies that you're sauteing to be able to absorb it. Don't have too much oil. That's the only reason.
I wish I had a better pot because this always burns on the bottom when you're frying.
Oh, it did? Buy a cast iron that's pre-seasoned from Amazon. They're so inexpensive now.
Well, I bought that, but it's got those things on the bottom. Is that the one you use? Because the one with
the ridges on the bottom are for steaks. They're Tracy, what do they call that when you sear a steak or something, or a chicken breast?
I don't have
grilling.
I don't have that.
Yeah, that's a grilling pan. That's not a regular 10-inch saute pan or 8-inch saute pan.
I got the wrong one then.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jill.
So we're not cutting up the bacon, it's staying whole?
No, you can cut it up, but you need to let it dry a little bit.
Okay.
Let it get cold. Yeah, and then you can cut it up. Yes, you cut it all up. Now, you're going to laugh at me, and that's okay. I laugh at myself because I can't chew. Remember what I do with my bacon? I make bacon dust. I use the Ninja or the NutriBullet because it'll whip it right up into powder. And I put the bacon in as powder. We call it bacon dust, and it's an actual term that chefs use. And that way I get the flavor, but I don't have to chew the pieces because my jaw doesn't have the strength to break down the piece of bacon. So I have to use bacon dust. So if any of you have trouble chewing, make bacon dust. It's amazing. You can sprinkle it on salads, put it in casseroles, and you'll have all the flavor without all the chewing. Trust me, you don't appreciate how much chewing your poor jaw does until you don't have a jaw to chew with it, or you have one that's compromised. I have a jaw, but it's very compromised. Now you should have cut up already kale or spinach. I prefer chard, but believe it or not, we couldn't find chard in any grocery store around here this last week. We could get kale and spinach. Yeah,
So I have a fun
Tracy?
fact for you about chard, because
Okay.
I have a ton grown in my garden also. So oxalates could be another problem for us humans. Oxalates are in many vegetables like lectins, like nightshades,
Right.
all a different category of food that has different toxins in it. And it doesn't affect everybody, but it can affect some. Like Dr. Jana from Hawaii, she stopped oxalates and now she's feeling less arthritic pain.
Yes.
Okay, from the
Yes.
oxalates. So interesting fact is kale is low in oxalates, but Swiss chard and spinach are high in oxalates.
Yep. And see, I can have chard and spinach as long as I don't have it 3 days in a row, and I'm perfectly okay. But if I have kale, I have problems. My fingers start hurting. They don't get swollen, but they hurt. And you have problems in your fingers, but yours is from gluten, isn't it?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
vegetable oils, like, you know, like the crappy
yeah.
canola oils and stuff that they give you at restaurants, unbeknownst to you.
Right. Yeah. You get that, you have that swelling in your hands. I don't get that, but I don't feel good. Yes, Nancy.
I've just recently started having it in my index finger here. And Dr. Jana told me about that oxalate.
Yeah,
To try
oxalates
to-
are horrible for some people.
Does it have nuts in it too, I think?
I made a chart this weekend and I
She
will
just made it.
share it, but it's oxalates are in, hold on,
Some nuts, yes, they are, and some nuts, I
some
think.
seeds and nuts, yes. But I need to take this chart and detail it out a little bit more. And
Yeah,
so-
I need to add a couple things to it too, Tracy, if we can.
okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yes, Nancy, your answer is yes.
And it's a great chart. She just showed it to me this morning. It's the first draft, Nancy, but Tracy listed several of those things so that people could have at a glance, you know, the nightshades, the oxalates. We didn't put in things that affect the thyroid because I'll be doing a presentation on that, and I made a chart for that already. But everything else she's got on there, it's really detailed. It'll be a big help for all of you to understand.
Wonderful.
Remember that, like me, I mean, I'm so sensitive to nightshades, and yet I can eat spinach. I actually eat a lot of spinach, and I can have chard. But boy, don't you get me near kale, because I also end up with a lot of like indigestion with kale. I don't know why, and I cook it the same way as I do my chard and my spinach. So just be aware, like we've said before, body talk never lies. If you listen to your body, you're eating something and you get a symptom you didn't have, you have a little heartburn, you get a dull headache, and you think, oh, it's just that I'm tired. No, it's not. Pay attention to what you ate. And the other thing is, take your pulse. Because remember, if your pulse is higher than it normally is, your body is responding in a negative way. That's how Chinese medicine works. They always do your pulse. And I don't know if you know this, and while you're all doing that, I'm going to tell you, when you take your pulse, you take it kind of gently, like put your thumb on your wrist on the inside, take it gently, and then take it deeper. No, they call that the double pulse test. Chinese doctor will never take it just once. They take it, and then you take it deeper. And that's when you know what the true pulse is. Because if your body's responding to something, you'll feel it. It'll be a real heavy thump on the deeper pulse.
And I don't find a pulse on my wrist. So if you are like me and you can't find your pulse on your wrist, come up here.
Then it's
to your neck.
Your neck, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not as easy to find the deeper pulse on your neck, but you can find it. I'm not good at it at the neck. Can you find the deeper pulse, the second pulse?
Yeah.
I can't. Can you?
Doesn't that show you how we're all different in so many ways, you know?
Yeah. You have to, and here's another thing that is important. They were trying to take my thumbprints when I was going to Ecuador. I had to go get my thumbprints done so that they could make sure that I didn't have a record to be able to give me my visa. And I don't have any pads. I don't have any thumbprints on my thumbs. because I type so much.
I don't either.
You should have seen what I went through. Yeah, every 3 months I get a new keyboard because I wear the letters off and I can't see what's, even though I don't have to look, you know, there's times you need to look and I wear them off. Brian laughs because I just ordered another one. I have a new keyboard right now that I just got because I always use the same ergonomic style, the Wave, because it's easy. Ergonomically, it's very easy. I wear them out. And the lady said to me, she was a real sweetheart. I was there 2 hours trying to get thumbprints. And she said, let's take your pulse. And I said, I mean, this is a government office. I said, what does a pulse have to do with my thumbprints? She said, well, sometimes if I can find a pulse that's real strong on another finger, I can take that one. And I'll be darned if she didn't find that on my middle finger. And so she took my prints, but she took them separate on the middle fingers because she had more pulse. Now that's somebody who's well informed. This was in a government office actually I was there for my visa, but I was also there for a concealed weapons permit. So they had to make sure they had good.
Nancy has a question.
No,
yes.
I have a comment on that line, you guys. I got hired by the VA in 2003 and worked there 11 years. But long story short, I worked there 4 years and all of a sudden we had to get fingerprinted. So they couldn't get my fingerprints. I have no fingerprints. So they say because I worked, in a business center for a hospital that the more you wash your hands, the more you lose your fingerprints.
Yes.
For doctors and nurses and all of that. But it was the kind of comical part about it is I could have been a terrorist working there for 4 years, right? All of a sudden, everybody had to get fingerprinted.
Fingerprinted, yeah, the laws changed. But well, with me, I mean, you go through tons of paperwork to get a resident visa for another country, and I had to have all that done. But anyway, they took my pulse and found the finger that had the most pulse, and that's how they got that fingerprint. Isn't that interesting? So your body talk never lies. It'll tell you if a food is not doing well with you. Okay, how are all of you doing? Thumbs up if you've got your vegetables in sauteing, okay?
We didn't put our potatoes in there, did we?
No, you're going to do that right now. Put it in. After your vegetables are in there and they're getting soft, put them in. Now I cheat. I steam all my potatoes before I eat. I think I mentioned I have an electric steamer that I love. So I steam them and get them a little al dente, and then I throw them in. That way in 15 minutes, I can have dinner on the table. You're going to have to cook it a little longer if you have potatoes that are raw. Did anybody steam their potatoes first? No, it's a trick. And I'm really annoyed because I've had patients ask me what steamer I use. It's a round drum with 2 baskets. I could probably get it and show you. And you put the water in the bottom. It's got 2 big baskets so you can steam 2 things. When I came from Ecuador and I was still living in the hotel, I didn't have a kitchen. The only way I could steam veggies was a steamer. Just has that little bar, with a refrigerator and a sink, typical hotel room. And I paid $49 for this thing, and it's amazing. They're now $129.
What?
4 years later, same exact steamer. Yeah, I'll have to show it to you next time because it's amazing. So I think you can probably find one online somewhere else, but on Amazon they've gone up that much, and I love them. I used to use the steamer baskets in a pot and stuff, and this is so much easier. But I wouldn't pay that kind of money for it today.
We have a rice cooker that also does vegetable steaming that we got for a wedding gift 34 years ago, and it still works.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Amazing.
Is it a basket that you put in?
It's like an outside thing, and then you put an inside thing, and then if you want to steam it, you put another inside thing.
Okay, good.
I don't use it, but my husband likes it.
Well, like I said, I was recommending the steamer to all my patients that have a lot of issues and wanted to steam their veggies. But I just said, I hate for you'd have to do some searching because they're so expensive now. They weren't when I first came back from Ecuador. That's how I cooked. I cooked in an electric skillet and a steamer the whole time I was in the hotel for almost 2 years. Can you believe it? Had a little kitchen set up in there. It's the only way we could eat.
You got to do what you got to do.
That's right.
How are the cooks doing? Linda, Nancy, Jill, Magda, how you guys doing? All good?
Good.
Yep. You've got a 1 pot. I don't do 1 pots. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've had this for
She's-
probably 25 years. But it's
Yeah.
in a basket and it's for rice or steamer. And
Oh,
it's
that's
the-
nice. That's kind of how this is. Yes. That's nice.
what
It's a
brand
great-
is that, Nancy?
It's Breville, Breville. Yeah, it's a
Breville.
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 Breville. That's what my portable oven is. Yes, they're great. They last forever.
I wish I had steamed the potatoes.
Oh, that's okay. Well, if you're using white sweet potatoes, they cook really quick. If you're using regular potatoes, you're going to have to massage them a little longer, but that's okay. We're only at half through the show, so we're okay. The rest of it goes fast.
I have to add something on the white potatoes. Maybe I've got the white sweet potatoes. I literally had to get my neighbor, who's a really good cook, to come help me cut them. So she has this here. She's coming to my patio right now. She had a super knife from it's a Japanese knife. So I ordered it on Amazon, and she uses it for herbs and everything. And it's wonderful. So she chopped up these potatoes for me.
She chopped it. Yeah, I can't chop it either. I don't have the strength. I'll tell you what I did though. I think I mentioned it once before. When I was in Washington, I went to the Ace Hardware, and the little guy got to know me. I was always buying something at Ace. And I said, what do you have that I can cut a squash? I had a beautiful big squash, but I couldn't cut it. And he said, come here, Gloria, I'll show you. And there was a little hacksaw about that big. It was probably no more than, I don't know, 5 inches or so, a hacksaw. And it cost me like $3.99 or something. And he said, just start with a knife, make a little slit, and then just hacksaw it. And that's what I used to cut my hard squashes. No, just a hacksaw like you would take out in a workshop.
Oh.
It's got the blades and it's inexpensive, and you just wash it. I mean, so I think that's a great tip because it's hard. I mean, you get some of those, even some of the spaghetti squash I can't cut through. And if you have butternut or something, they're very, very hard to cut. So anyway, that's a good one. Go to Ace Hardware and get a little tiny hacksaw. That's what it was. I think I paid like $3.99 for it. It's probably $10.99 now, but okay. Jill, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I think my potatoes will take longer to cook because of the high altitude.
Oh, because of the altitude.
I forgot about. I should have.
Okay, I should have reminded you to steam them. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So what you're going to do then? You've got the potatoes in there, the onions, the celery, the garlic. Everything should be nicely, softened and cooked. Then at the end is when you add your kale or spinach or chard, whatever that you chopped up. Add it at the end and add your beans. You're going to add your beans that you already pureed, and then put in another half a cup of chicken broth, and you're done. As soon as the spinach is soft and cooked and your potatoes are cooked, you're done. That's what the ragu is. So there's nothing else left to do other than your brags. If you're adding brags instead of a lot of salt, then you're going to add roughly a tablespoon. But remember, if you're using bacon is salty. So is the fat that it renders. So don't add brags until you taste it. After you put in the beans that have been pureed and your beans and your greens, then taste it. And if you need a little brags, add some brags. But don't add it before because it may be too salty.
So do they need to
Nancy,
cook it for 20 minutes right now?
Not always. Because usually I can cook that dish 20 minutes from start to finish if my potatoes are steamed. So it just depends on how fast your potatoes cook.
I need to go back a step. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much.
You're not.
I didn't put the garlic in. When should I put the garlic in?
You put that in when you put that in, hon, after your onions and your celery and your carrots are softened. Then you add the garlic and you add the rosemary.
Okay, well, I already put the potatoes in, so can I go ahead and put the garlic in?
Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, there's no, yeah, go ahead. There's no fast rule, Nancy, other than if you have fresh rosemary, you don't want to overcook it. Otherwise, there's no fast rule. Just dump it in. It's a ragu. Just dump it.
So do you put anything liquid wise for the potatoes to cook with it?
You put it when you, well, you should have enough liquid. If not, add a little more chicken broth.
Okay.
You should have plenty of liquid.
So I guess I missed the chicken broth. I'm sorry. So should I put the?
I did too.
Put the other half of the chicken broth in? Is that what we're?
Yes, put it in.
Okay.
If it's drying, you need the chicken broth. Because total, you're going to have, I believe it's a cup, yeah, a total of 1 cup of chicken broth. You put in some of it, and then you put in the rest of it. Like you put in some of it to puree your beans, and the other half to cook everything else in your skillet after you have done your mirepoix and sauteed all of the veggies.
So where did I miss putting that in? I put it in now, but
just put it in. You put it in at the top with half of the beans that you puree. You use those to, did you puree your beans?
yes, no, I'm all done with that, but what I had was the other half of the broth. So I'm wondering.
It's okay, put it in now. Put it in now, because you need the
okay.
potatoes to cook.
That's
And
what
it'll
I
help
did.
steam them.
Thank you, Nancy,
Yeah.
for taking Lori's place today.
He's got the questions.
I decided I have to share this. My whole life I worked for, like, my family grew up, and of course I cooked dinner, but I did the basic, meat, potatoes. This is a lot of work. And I never had time. Like, I wouldn't have had time to prepare all this stuff between sports and all that stuff. So
Well,
anyway,
you know what? The work is in the prep usually, Nancy. That's why I've always, even when I was married and my boys were little, I always cooked on Sunday. That was my cooking day, and I had 3 to 4 meals so they could have leftovers. Between Saturday, I didn't feel real good, and neither did Brian this weekend. So between Saturday and Sunday, I made 5 salads. So guess what we're going to eat all week? Because it's going to be in the mid to high 90s here all week. Can you believe it? So I have 5 salads, and we bought a rotisserie chicken, and I can make 5 or 6 meals out of one poor little skinny chicken. And I made chicken salad, and it was delicious with cranberries and apples, and oh my goodness, it was delicious. So I have 5 salads for the week. Normally I would do if I did the ragu, I would do that, and then maybe a meat dish, and then some vegetable dishes and a salad. And then you've got food all week. Nobody can cook this way every day. It's too much work, you're right. But if you do it and you a couple of times the same recipe and make notes, it gets to be second nature. The easiest part is the cooking. The hardest is all the prep. And I'm very fortunate that when Brian feels well, he does all my prep. I don't prep because it's too hard on my wrist.
And Nancy, I also think that when you're not super busy with work, that sometimes just taking the time and spending in the kitchen, and you just don't have a rush about you. You can just relax and just enjoy the whole process. And
it's
like,
therapy.
I was like you, I was the same. But now at this stage of my life, I love, especially when I have company over, because then I make like a whole bunch of different dishes, and I just spend the entire day in the kitchen. And then they go, "Oh, this is therapy." So good. Yes.
But Tracy's right, because there's 2 things that are therapy for me: cooking and dancing. And I haven't danced since I've been back from Ecuador. But those 2 things, where am I going to go dance? I'm in the 2nd floor apartment in, God forbid, nowhere not land here. But the point is that when you're dancing or cooking, you have to focus on that. You can't think about, paying something or calling somebody or writing something or the problems of the day or the week or the month. So those are 2 therapies that for me are a godsend. Just hearing music is therapeutic. You all know that. But if you're able to dance or you're able to be in the kitchen, like Tracy said, and the prepping, I have every gadget. I think Tracy does too. Every gadget you can imagine for the kitchen. And Brian, my business partner, doesn't like using them. He's going to chop the onions and the celery and everything by hand like a true chef. And it's like, oh no, I'm not going there. It's going in the food processor or it's going in the other gadgets, but I'm not going to sit there for 2 hours to prep. So it doesn't matter. The flavor's the same. It's just that he's a real purist. And he did all my prep cooking when I was in Ecuador and I was doing the live show. So he loves doing it. It's therapy for him.
Nancy, what were you going to say?
Make it.
I was just going to say, when my husband was alive, he was the cook. So I was fortunate when
Oh, he was the cook. Now the truth comes out.
And Magda, you wanted to add?
Yeah.
My mother never taught me how to cook, so I was
no, mine didn't either.
So,
no. Yeah. Jill, did you have a question, honey?
Yeah, I wanted to say that I really have enjoyed cooking. I used to cook on Sundays also because I traveled and I made all the meals for the boys and husband, but I could never please my husband. So this has been great fun cooking just to please me and such a gourmet type food. So thank you.
Thank you. So you're enjoying it.
Yes.
Good, good.
Magda, I saw a hand up a little bit ago.
Yeah, Dr. Gloria is talking about prepping. So if you're lucky enough to live near a Trader Joe's, they have the mirepoix. It's a layer of carrots, onions, and celery. So that's what I used. I cheated. You know, easy.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm not anywhere near a Trader Joe's, but I love Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
I didn't know they did that. I do know that most of the stores now have the zucchini, the zoodles, the spirals. You don't have to have all the equipment to do it yourself. They have them already packaged. So that's an easy way to make your pasta without pasta, to make it with vegetables. Yeah. So Linda, how you doing?
Great. I do have a confession though.
Here we go.
My husband and I are both O positive, and he just recently had live blood study done, and we are going to be starting on the eating for your blood type. And so the only beans I could have were black-eyed peas. So mine is not going to be pretty white. It's going to be brown.
Hey, look, I've made it. No, it's okay. I've made it with that. Just make sure that you cream part of them.
I did.
That you saw, that you, okay, and it doesn't matter because you can, I've made it with chickpeas and it's really good. It's thicker, but chickpeas are a really good substitute for a gravy if you don't want to use dairy, for instance. It gets thick and it's absolutely delicious. I have some recipes coming up this next fall where we use chickpeas quite a bit. I love chickpeas. They're healthy. They're easy to get. The professional chefs say if you don't have at least 6 cans of chickpeas in your pantry, you're not really a chef. Because you can throw it together with anything else. So that's fine. Let us see it when you get it done. How's your potatoes coming, everybody?
They're
Magda,
done.
are yours almost cooked? They're done?
Done.
Okay, did you add the spinach and the
No.
everything's in there?
Yeah.
Okay, did you
Time
add
for
your bacon back
tasting?
in? Yeah, after your bacon is cool, did you add your bacon back in?
I just left it in the pan. You didn't
Okay,
say to
that's
take it
fine.
out. Did you?
Yeah. I said take it out and let it cool so you can chop it.
Oh, I had already chopped it and I just cooked it and I left it in the pan. I
Oh,
added
that's okay.
the veggies and all that. It's really good.
I do that sometimes too. If it's already chopped, it doesn't matter. It's just if you've got the strips. Okay, so you've added everything now? Did you add the parsley at the end?
Yeah.
Because the parsley was about 1/4 cup, more or less. And if you don't want, you don't have to add parsley. One note, I love cilantro and parsley both. But one time I made this dish and I didn't have parsley and I used cilantro. It was awful because it completely changes the flavor of the ragu. So don't substitute cilantro in this recipe. Make sure you use the parsley. Okay, so are you ready to taste, Magda?
Delicious.
Is your spinach wilted enough that you can taste it?
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
done.
taste it.
I did already.
Taste it and give us a taste test here.
Ah. Gloria likes that on camera, you know.
Delicious.
Yay.
Really
Is it good?
Yeah.
Have you ever creamed the beans like that before and used it as a sauce?
No, never.
No. So see, that's another trick. That's a really good thickener. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you cook just a pot of pinto beans, for instance, which is very South American, all you do is put onions and garlic and a little cilantro at the end, and you take some of those beans and you puree them and add it back in, the flavor's completely different. It's a way of using the beans for the nutrition, but not having just beans. You've got a thicker base. Okay, Linda, are you ready to taste it? Did you add your bacon?
Sweet potatoes still aren't all the way done.
They're still not done. Nancy, are your potatoes done?
Yes, I'm putting in the beans.
Okay. And how about the spinach and
I put kale in. I hope it.
okay, that's fine, kale. And then the oh, you'll do fine. You're not going to be eating it 3 days in a row.
I put rosemary.
Okay, and then did you put parsley in there at the end?
Not yet, because I'm just putting the beans in.
Okay, give it a good stir. Once the green is softened, is cooked, then the dish is ready. Now everybody's confessing here, so I'm going to confess. I put Parmesan cheese on just about everything. So when I serve this dish, I serve it with Parmesan on top. It's yummy. While it's hot, it melts right into it. It's really good.
Where do you get your Parmesan?
I get it from HEB in Texas. They have the big Italian chunks that you can buy at the deli.
Okay, good. You know what I do is I buy those big wedges and then I put it in the food processor just with the blade, you know, and then you blade it and I don't shred it. I like grate it. I think that's what it's called.
Right.
And let's use the blade of the food processor and you do the whole chunk. I mean, you cut it into blocks or into cubes and then you put it in there and that way you're not shredding.
I never thought of doing it that way. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Sometimes I can get in the deli the freshly grated, but sometimes I can't. We have to get the regular, wedge.
Oh, it's better. It melts better. It's so much better.
It is better. And so there again, if you can eat cheese and you choose to put some in, put it in while it's hot. It's absolutely delicious. And the other thing that makes it really good is maybe a little dab of white wine, just a little bit. Okay, so Magda, how was it as far as overall flavor and texture with the sauce?
Actually, I was just going to make a comment about that. I added a little bit more Bragg's because I like flavor, so it didn't taste.
Yeah, me too.
Flavorful, and I added a little pepper, and that's it.
That's it. Okay, so you needed more salt in it.
Yeah.
You needed more salt.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why you have to keep tasting.
Yeah.
Can't hear you, Nancy.
Mine's very garlicky since I didn't really saute the garlic very long. But I'm cooking it in. I'm like, what are the things?
Jill, go ahead. She was about to show us. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
That's ragu. Did you put cheese on top?
I did.
Okay. Now tell us.
I would
And
have
probably
rather
with
had
the cheese,
white, I would have rather had the white potatoes, but the one store that had them in town didn't have them, so I just prefer the white over the orange. But it's delicious. You can taste every flavor just enough, like the rosemary. Yeah, it's good.
Cool. That's great.
Should it really be like? It almost feels like it needs a little bit more
Liquid?
liquid, a little bit more of the chicken stock. Maybe.
Okay, do you like things with white wine? Do you have any white wine?
I might, I'll look
Like
and
white
see.
cooking wine? If you
I'll
do,
look
put a
and see.
little bit of that in and a tiny bit of chicken broth and see how it changes it.
Okay,
Yeah, if it's too dry, you don't want it like a soup. A ragu is
Right.
just think of it as a casserole. But if it's too dry, add a little bit more broth and add some white cooking wine or some white good wine. There's Nancy. That looks great. How does it taste? Did you try it yet?
I just put some cheese. I have Parmesan cheese that I bought at Costco, the big thing of it from Italy. It's already grated. So
Yeah. So taste it and see if you need more salt. Because like Magda wanted more salt.
no, it's good. Mm.
It's good. The cheese is salty. Good. Magda, did you put cheese on yours yet?
No, not yet. Tonight, maybe.
That's
But
Yeah.
maybe for dinner.
Yeah, that may be why if you put cheese, you don't want to taste it. You don't want to add salt until after you add the cheese because it is salty.
Mm.
So is that a winner?
Yeah.
That's also a great dish to serve in the summer because it really isn't hard. If you have everything prepped, your potatoes steamed, you throw it together and a nice big salad and you've got a meal in the summer. How is it, Linda?
It's great. I think the sweet potatoes make it kind of sweet.
Yeah, they do. They
Have
do.
the orange
The
sweet
orange ones make it. Oh, that's why, because it's but that's okay. And what are you holding up there? We can't see it.
Water.
What are you holding up?
Oh, that's my fault. I needed to let it cool a little longer.
Oh, okay. I thought you were showing us some kind of fancy vinegar or something.
Oh, it was.
Okay, so now, do any of you have a good dark balsamic vinegar? Not the white balsamic, but the dark.
Yeah,
Do you have any? Okay, Magda, you have it too, Nancy and Jill. Take a little bit of the dish, so you don't put it in the whole dish if you don't like it, and then sprinkle some balsamic vinegar in it, and add a little bit of a good olive oil or avocado oil, and stir it, and see how you've got a different dish. Completely different. And I used, I think I mentioned I don't know if it was Tracy, living in Texas, I had never had pecan oil before. Here they say pecan, but it's pecan where I come from. Right, Linda? Linda shaking her head. And so the other Linda, our Linda here. And so I bought a bottle of pecan oil, very expensive. A small bottle is like $20. And I put that in at the end of the ragu, just on part of the serving. And oh my goodness, it just changes the whole, that with a little bit of balsamic vinegar is amazing. Just changes the whole flavor. So if you make a big dish and you're tired of the taste, change the taste the next day. You've got a new dish.
Do you put the cheese in it too or not?
The what, hon?
Do you still use the Parmesan with that or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, but it does change the flavor. Did you try it, Jill?
It's delicious with the balsamic and I did avocado oil. It is yummy. So good.
But doesn't it change it?
It did.
The flavor's different.
It muted
people
the sweet
people
potato.
think because oh, okay. But see, people think they get a recipe, and I'm always experimenting because sometimes I make a big recipe and I don't want the same flavor 3 days in a row. And so if you find a way to change it, balsamic vinegar is one of my favorite. I have every flavor of balsamic vinegar they make. Probably 7 or 8 bottles in here. And I didn't know that Texas, Linda, our Linda, admin Linda, we all know that Italy is known for their balsamic vinegars. I've been through their factories. But until I moved to Texas, I didn't know that Texas is famous now for their wines and their balsamics, because now they realize that there's 2 different valleys in the hill country that have the exact same climate as Italy. So now we have olive oil companies all over the place here with flavored olive oils, and they're amazing. So whenever I can go by that way, I buy a couple bottles, and you don't use a lot, but you can get the flavored ones, and for like I love the peach, and I love the citrus, and the tangerine. I mean, they're amazing. So when you get a chance and you go someplace that they have flavored balsamics, get yourself a couple of flavors and try it, because it really changes everything.
Cool.
Okay.
Really good.
Awesome.
Okay. So
This is fun.
I
We
want to
have
make
an
an
announcement.
Yes, we will not be doing a cooking show next Monday because it's Memorial Day holiday.
Oh, okay.
But the following Monday, we're going to be doing my mayonnaise-free potato salad with white sweet potatoes, if you can get them. And that's because so many people get food poisoning that in the summer, because they go to a picnic or they go out in the barbecue in the backyard, and the mayonnaise or the sour cream, whatever you use that's dairy, gets bad and you end up with food poisoning. I have all the statistics in there in the article I wrote. So if you're going to cook with us the Monday after Memorial Day, steam your potatoes. Make them al dente, to cut them in cubes, make it the way you would want the consistency of a potato salad. And then we will make the potato salad, basically just assemble it, because it's very different than the one with mayonnaise. Okay. And like I said, the one I made this weekend was so good. It was so different. And you can put just about anything in it. But I suggest that if you can get some fresh herbs, or you have a garden like Tracy does, cut your fresh herbs when you can. If not, the dried is fine. But for cold salads, it's really better to have the fresh. Yes, Linda.
Do you think you could
Go
use
ahead.
turnips?
Yes, you can use, and you can also use parsnips.
Okay.
Parsnips are
Also,
carrots, remember?
you can use cauliflower.
You can't do cauliflower.
Yeah. No, you can't do cauliflower if she's going to follow that diet.
Mhm.
But yes, you can make a potato salad with cauliflower. It's very good. I've made it. But I like my white sweet potatoes. So when I make potato salad, I want potatoes. But do steam them. Get them al dente so that they're at the consistency you want a potato salad. And then that way, if you have those ready, we'll be able to just talk about it. And I'll give you some tidbits about the white sweet potato and why it's so important. This is great to take to somebody's house, to have something outdoors when you're eating, because you're not going to have to worry about it getting somebody sick. Yes, Linda.
I was the farmer's market, and I might have already said this, but I was asking all the farmers, I live right along the coast of Alabama, and I was asking all the farmers at the farmer's market if they did white sweet potatoes, and I found one that did white sweet potatoes and the purple sweet potatoes, and he said end of August, like 1st of September. So I will
really. I didn't
those.
know that. Stock up on them, because here in Texas we can't get them all year. But one of my patients called me real quick and said, order online from Whole Foods, because you have to have a minimum order. And I paid to have them deliver the groceries, and the potatoes are gorgeous. So I don't know how long it's going to last. I'm going to order some more this week. Fun facts,
you guys,
yes.
we've got to wrap it up. I also want to thank those that show up without cooking. I love to see your faces.
Yes.
I love having you here. And Adelita, you and I need to get together to talk herbs one of these days soon. Okay. On WoW, so you can share what you've learned in the last several months.
Absolutely. Okay, everybody. God bless.
Bon appetit,
Love you
everyone.
all.
Love you all.
Appetit.
See you next time. Happy Memorial Day. Bye for now.